can't live by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome, you should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts, told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High, we gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope, fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat, looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah or Belial, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, now we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier, warfare getting nuclear, mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word, spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolaitans, hate these great Renatos, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Trying to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee to me, vote these or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gon' be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the Ultra Low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I ain't praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came out sour, but now we stand and giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface, choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is ready to bag, but yet somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance, while you living you can't better search him. Gotta call on his name like it's urgent, never knowing that day is emerging. So repent at the weight of perversions, judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go.
Shalawam, Shalawam family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, we do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Yasharahla, Yasharahla.
Shalawam, Yasharahla.
All right, and today we will be doing a live Bible Q&A, and we'll be diving into some current events, right? Now, we are live here on the House of Bread channel only, typically. When we do lives, typically simulcasting on my channel as well as the House of Bread channel. Unfortunately, this past week, right, I had a lot of stuff planned for this week, man. On Tuesday, I believe it was, no, Monday, impromptu, saw that Jubilee released their 20v1, right? 20 black conservatives versus one black cop, Officer Tatum, right? Top tier raccoon of the century. And they ended the stream and gave me a strike. So because they gave me a strike on my channel, I'm unable to, I can't upload anything, right? I can't even make a post. So I wasn't even able to share this live on the HOB channel on my channel, right? So I should be able to upload and get back to the swing of things on Tuesday. I'm assuming by, it says it'll be a week that I won't be able to upload or anything like that. So but so yeah, we're here. Make sure everyone subscribes, hit the bell icon, all right, so that you get notified whenever we drop lessons or go live here on this channel. I've been trying to get this channel to be able to get monetized for some time, so I'm going to start doing a lot more just soul lessons here on the HOB channel so that we can get that up and running. Right, we got this right amount of subscribers. Right now, the only thing we're working with is watch hours. So we got to put out more content and have people engage and sit with it for some more time, right? If you're new, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms at House of Bread Camp, right? Underscore in between each word, right? Additionally, right? Yeah, like I said, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Once this video is done being live, hype the video, right? That makes
Right.
YouTube change their algorithm, right? So hype feature is available for channels that are under 500,000 subscribers, which is a lot of channels, and liking, commenting, right? Not just in the live stream, but like coming back and dropping a comment, hyping the video does a world of difference and pushing this edification to our people in the algorithm, right? I'm not sure about y'all, but me personally, I came into the truth. I didn't come into the truth from seeing Hebrew Israelites on the actual street corners. I came into the knowledge of the truth because I saw videos that brothers who were on the street corners uploading, and that's how I came into the truth. So, it's important that we again do our part in liking and sharing, right? I just make it a habit for myself, right? I watch a lot of YouTube, right? Tons of different creators, different avenues, right? I watch a lot of boxing content. I watch basketball stuff, watch stuff about cooking, houses, all types of stuff, right? Camping stuff. And I make it an effort to like most of the videos that I engage with, right? Especially with the creators that I like. So make sure that you guys hit that like button, man. It's free. It don't hurt you at all, right? Again, if it's on your heart, you can donate to the camp. Our Cash App and our PayPal is below here as well, right? So let's get in here, man. Any questions, right? Any questions? Put your questions in the chat. I think what I'll do is I'll put a link in the chat and I'll pin it, right? So if you don't feel like typing your question, you want to come on, we'll go ahead and bring you up, and we can get into it, right? So any questions, by all means, ask away. So exercise says Shalawam, is Ezekiel 35:14 a good way to show how Esau hasn't been judged yet, because it says that the world would rejoice when he is destroyed? Let's take a look at it. I would say so, right? Oh snap! There we go. Let's go ahead and, man, I swear, every time I get StreamYard set up, man, it's always something that's tripping. Right, here we go. Right. So let's take a look at that scripture.
Come.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Come.
All right, bring it out.
Come. This is Ezekiel 35 and verse 14. Thus saith the Lord God, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate.
Mm-hmm.
As thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahawah.
So this is definitely a future prophecy, right? And what's interesting about this, right, is that Ezekiel 35, right, it's addressing Mount Seir, right? Ezekiel is called Son of Man. He's the only prophet that's called Son of Man, right? And he's always told to set his face against something, right? Because men have faces, right? And again, here he's prophesying against Mount Seir, which is the capital of Edom, right? Edom, again, the brother Yadi was just going into it live, right? Of course, Christians, they always break the scriptures and destroy the context. And he was going into how, of course, Edom cannot have been absorbed and they don't exist on the earth anymore for a plethora of reasons. Esau plays a huge part in end time prophecy, right? And we see that here in Ezekiel chapter 35. So Ezekiel 35 is emphatically a future prophecy, right? So now it rolls into Ezekiel chapter 36, right? So when we go into Ezekiel 36, right, we see right here it says, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, right? Notice how he's not setting his face against the mountains of Israel, right? But he's speaking to the mountains of Israel. He's talking to the land, right? Well, why would God tell the prophet to prophesy to the land, right? Because this prophecy is concerning the inhabitants of the land, right? Watch this. It goes on to say, verse 2, thus saith the Lord God, because the enemy have said against you, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. And ye are taken up in the lips of talkers and are infamy of the people. So much to unpack there, right? When we see who is actually having control of the land, right? When we talk about the land of Israel today, it's infamous, right? Why? Because of what's happening in the land of Israel currently. There's currently a genocide happening in the land of Israel. There's currently bombs being dropped on hospitals, on children. They're using bombs painted as soccer balls for little Palestinian kids to pick up and get maimed. They're right now in Palestine, right? The Arabs, the Palestinian people, who again, that's not their land, right? But regardless of that, they're living in hell right now. I'm gonna keep it a buck. The Zionist state of Israel is committing a genocide and committing war crimes against them. You have situations where children need to have amputations. Why? Because of what the small hats are doing to them. And they don't have any hospitals. That means they don't have any anesthesia. Imagine if your child needed to get an arm, a leg, right, amputated and no anesthesia. That's what's happening right now, right? So it's an infamy amongst the people, right? Let's continue. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahawah. Thus saith the Lord Yahawah, to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision, to the residue of the heathen that are round about you, right? Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, right? Edom, which have appointed my land in their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. So Ezekiel follows up. Shalawam to everyone coming in, right? Shout out to his good brother Yadi. I appreciate you, King, right?
Great love.
So the Edomites would take possession of the land of Israel. And what's interesting, right? It goes on to say, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, I have lifted up my hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. Right now, they're bearing their shame. And it's going to get even more shameful, right, when that place is turned into unwalled villages, right? Right? If you know, you know, right? I've been saying this a lot, right? I've been on Yadi's lives every other day saying, listen, unwalled village is loaded, right? Because when the children of Israel return, the true children of Israel, not the Edomites that are masquerading and parading as if they're the children of God, right? When the real children of Israel return, there will be no more pride parades, right? There won't be any 4-day-long pride festivals by the Dead Sea near Sodom and Gomorrah. There will be no more major pride parades in Tel Aviv. None of that will be happening, right? Because when the children of Israel return, they will be all righteous. They will be under the bond of the new covenant, and they will be keeping God's law, statutes, commandments, and not doing any abominations, right? Watch this, verse 8. But ye, O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people Israel, for they are at hand to come. So what this is demonstrating is that when the children of Israel are getting ready to return, when they're at hand to come back to the land, the Edomites will be dwelling in the land. And guess what? You know what they say? History repeats itself, right? When we look at what's said in Psalms 137, First Ezra as well, it says that the Edomites took our homes. When we got cast and sent into Babylon, right? The Edomites went into our land and they started dwelling in our homes. And when we were able to come back under the Medo-Persians, right, of course, we had to kick them up on out of there. Sounds very similar. Right now, we're in Babylon today. We're in Babylon the Great. The Most High God stirring up the Medes to destroy Babylon for our liberation. And when we return, guess what? There'll be the devils in our homes again, right? And they're going to have to get taken up on out of there. So it's amazing how this stuff is cyclical. So good question. Any other questions we got in the chat? Did I miss any questions? Any questions? Again, we're doing a live Bible Q&A. We're going to be diving into some current events. So make sure y'all hit your questions, family. All right. Let me see what we can get into, right? So there's a lot going on right now. There is a whole lot going on right now in the world, right? The U.S. there's talks about the U.S. Changing their nuclear doctrine, right? They're coming up with a new nuclear plan, right, as a deterrence against against Russia, rather, and China. And when you really look at it, right now, America, which is part of NATO, is currently at war with Russia, right? Mm-hmm. We're in a proxy war with them because what's happening right now, we have the war in Ukraine, right? But it's going to be a hot war very soon, right? And they're coming up with this idea that they need to have a nuclear deterrent, right? And really just a nuclear fallback if they're starting to lose a conventional war with China and or Russia. Now, it's just so, like I said, there's so much going on right now.
Yeah, I've seen that Trump requested 13 times to drop tactical nukes.
Yep.
Got denied every time. So, look out for that man being fired, right? So Trump could try to, get that pushed through.
Absolutely, right. Now another thing is we are in an economic downfall, right? There was just a jobs report that came out, right? Actually, let's look at the jobs report real quick. Let's go into this jobs report. Right, just the other day, right, or I think today. Let me get an article. Wall Street Journal, right? So, U.S. lost 23,000 jobs in July while unemployment ticked lower, right? So they're saying unemployment ticked lower, right? But really what they've been doing, and they've been doing this since during the time of the pandemic, right? During Biden's administration, they've been fudging the numbers to make it seem like, oh, these little, like if someone joins Uber or someone joins Lyft or someone joins freaking DoorDash or damn Instacart, that counts towards the jobs being created. But if that's really the case, right, why are we losing 23,000 jobs? Oh, maybe because of AI. Oh, maybe because we have a global recession going on right now that no one wants to. They don't want to come out and say that it's a global recession. Why? Because that will bring widespread panic, right? And when you look at what happened with the Great Depression, right, you have what's known as bank runs, right? What is a bank run, right? Our system is propped up on a fiat currency, right, where our banking system, right, there's a central bank, the Fed, they set interest rates for banks to borrow money from the Fed that they can then lend to you, right? Mortgage rates are up right now. Of course, our GDP is decreasing, right? We got oil prices spiking. This is a recipe for disaster, right? And when you have a bank run, everyone is running to the bank to take their money out. Here's the issue, right? Our money is not backed by anything other than what?
Right.
Mainly the global oil market. And how is that doing right now? How is that doing right now? It's a shit show, right? The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is closed to Saudi Arabia, right? The Houthis in Iran are hitting tankers near Egypt. All of this is happening right now. This is all a huge shitstorm that's going to pile up and continue to pile up and to bring economic collapse to America, right? So again, the U.S. lost 23,000 jobs in July while unemployment ticked lower, right? I am not subscribing to the Wall Street Journal, so we're not going to read this in totality, right? But again, losing 23,000 jobs, that's horrible, right? So let me pull up a video real quick, right? Because I want to go into economic collapse. Now, Riyadi went into it on the other day, right? There's something going on with Japan, right? And Japan's economy is tied to our economy, right? So we're gonna look at this video real quick, right? And of course, here's America coming to bail out the Japanese.
What's up, you guys? It's Graham.
Right, fair use, right? Look at fair use in the chats, right? Fair use in the chat, right? We're just using this for educational purposes, right?
Here, and apparently we are okay. In all seriousness, what's happening right now is absolutely insane. United States banks have just been warned to prepare for a possible intervention of the Japanese yen after its value recently fell to its lowest level in 40 years. Basically, Japan currently holds so much of their own money in US dollars that if they're forced to sell to prevent their own currency from collapsing, that could trigger a global reversal across the entire economy. And believe it or not, it's already started. So even though I am rushing this video out without as many edits as possible, I'm going to do my best to explain exactly what's going on, why the United States is trying to save Japan before they bring down the rest of the market, and then what history tells us is most likely going to happen next, because a lot of this is unprecedented.
Right, and this is important, right? Because history repeats itself, right? Right? We want to see why or how this is going to affect the future, right? Because our present situation right now, the economy is in shambles, right? I don't even know what gas is right now. I haven't bought gas since, I think the last time I bought gas was maybe last Saturday, because I just haven't been driving, right? I have not been driving because, listen, man.
I had to get gas this morning around my way. It's like $4 right now,
and it's only gonna get worse. And we're getting close to the end of our strategic reserves. I forgot where I was the other day, and I saw they had the freedom gas, right? Trump's been pushing this freedom gas. Yeah. What that is, it's our strategic reserves. So they're selling it at a cheaper price because why? His approval rating is in the tank, right? But let's continue.
Although before we start, as usual, if you appreciate the last minute breaking news videos like this, all I ask is that you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. That's all I ask. It helps out more than you can imagine, especially with my voice starting to go out from filming so much. And as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of my cat, Gigi. So thanks so much. And also big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this. Look, even though it sounds like a complicated term, it's really easy to understand when you break it down. Because on the surface, our global economies are extremely interconnected. Like what happens in Korea affects the United States. The interest rates in one country could affect the demand for another. And in most cases, when a currency is weak, money flows out of that currency and into something safer, which in many cases tends to be the US dollar, or in this case, US treasuries. After all, this is the reserve currency of the entire world. The more people that buy into this, the less interest we have to pay to entice people to hold on to it. And as a result, the better our economy does, because there's no shortage of people who take our money. Just think of it like this. Every country has their own currency, their own interest rate, and their own inflation. That's all indexed to how many of these dollars they're able to purchase. This means there could be arbitrage opportunities where you borrow cheap in one currency, buy US dollars that earn a higher interest rate, and then you profit the difference. But just like this could support our economy as more people buy into this, it also works in reverse. And that is unfortunately what's starting to happen with the yen collapse.
Now, another complication, right? Another caveat here is that a lot of countries, right? A lot of countries are settling trade deals in the Chinese yuan. So that also devalues the dollar, right? If that's devaluing the dollar, again, this is how it's having a negative effect on Japan. Their economy is heavily interconnected with ours. The whole global economy is interconnected, but theirs is even more so interconnected with ours. They hold a lot of U.S. Treasury bonds, right? And if their currency is dropping in value, that means that their citizens can't they don't have as much buying power, right? There's a brother from Philly. His name is Rod. He's a streamer, and I saw a clip of him the other day on the gram, and he was breaking it down for like the average YN to understand. He's like, bro, like 10K today ain't the same 10K that we had 10 years ago. And again, he's a young bull, right? And he broke it down. He's like, listen, bro, that same 10,000 that you had back then, you could get way much more done, right? Rent was for a 2-3 bedroom was $1,400. Right now, a 3 bedroom gonna run you close to 3 racks. You can't. Your $10,000 does not go as far, right? That's why when you go to the grocery store, you can have a budget of $150. That would have got you, right, 10 years ago, a shit ton of groceries. Now, right, $150 is getting you 2 bags of groceries.
Yeah.
Inflation rate is insane here, right? So buying power, spending power is important. If your currency is devalued, you cannot buy as much with that same dollar, with that same yen.
Here's the problem. For nearly 40 years, the value of the Japanese yen has been on a steady decline. In fact, their financial system is so bad, with decades of deflation, an aging population, and weak demand, that interest rates remain near historic lows just to incentivize spending, borrowing, and trade. And they could get away with that because up until recently, their inflation has been pretty much non-existent. Now, in most cases, this isn't that big of a deal, and global interest rates just tend to balance each other out. But recently, something changed. Because the United States battled with record high inflation from 2022 and 3, we were forced to raise interest rates at the fastest pace ever in history. And all of a sudden, the United States was paying out more money in interest than any other country risk-free. This presented a very unique opportunity where traders could borrow the yen at a really low interest rate, put it into the United States Treasury at a high interest rate, and then profit the difference. After all, why wouldn't you borrow the yen at 1%, buy the US dollar at 5%, and then sit back and collect the spread? On top of that, historically, the value of the yen has also gone down relative to that of the US dollar, which meant that by the time you had to pay back the loan in yen, it requires fewer US dollars than you originally borrowed. Or basically, think of it like this. In really simple terms, you could theoretically borrow 1.6 million yen at 1% interest, which would get you 10,000 US dollars. You could then take that $10,000 and buy a 12-month treasury earning 4%. If everything stays the exact same after 12 months, you now have $10,400, which is equivalent to 1,650,000 yen. Pay back the original loan with 1% interest, and now you have roughly 400 US dollars worth of profits, all while owning something that's backed by the full faith of the US government. On top of that, just
So again, it's a good scheme, right? It's a good scheme that's been working, right? And when you keep running the same play, what happens? The defense picks up,
right,
on the play that you're running, right? And we see what's going on with the other superpowers, right? The BRICS. I'm not sure what's going on with their currency, right? They were supposed to be doing their own currency, but I think the plan has pivoted to them just settling trade in the yuan, right? In the Chinese yuan. So again, the defense, which is the Eastern powers versus the West, right? Because who's linked up with the US? You got NATO and in the EU. Of course, you got Japan. You got the Gulf states, right? You have like for instance, right now, the Gulf states, meaning Saudi Arabia, UAE, right? All of these countries here in the Persian Gulf that are enemies of Iran, right? They're Sunni Muslims. Iran is Shia Muslim. They don't rock with each other, right? They've been having proxy wars all over the region, right, for decades. So because of the war in Iran, it's disrupting the economies of the Gulf states. Their economy is tied to our economy, right? Our economy is heavily tied to the global oil market, right? We produce a lot of oil here in the U.S. The issue is our refineries are not set up to refine the type of oil that we have here. So we have to import oil from other countries like Venezuela, from the Gulf countries that have heavy crude oil, right? And we export our oil to other countries that have different types of refineries. Here's the issue. In order to export oil and import oil, you still need oil. How do these ships are able to travel? Oil, gas, right? So it's all heavily interconnected, and because of that, right? Because of the war that didn't need to happen, right? But of course, we understand that it is happening because it's all the Most High God's plan. You see, it's funny as I watch a lot of these independent media personnels, right? Like your TYTs, your Redacted, your Secular Talks, your Breaking Points. All of these guys, they're talking as if like somehow, some way there's light on the other side of the tunnel with this issue. No, what Americans need to come to grips with is that this country is on a downward spiral to utter and total disaster. There's no getting out of this on the other side. There's nothing that can be done. There's no amount of policy, right, or reform that can be done to change the course of history and the course that America is getting ready to go down, right? Babylon is falling, right? Let's on Life Alert, right? Remember the Life Alert commercials? I fall and I can't get up. That's getting ready to happen to America, to Babylon, right? So let's continue.
Remember that the Japanese currency has been in a steady decline against the dollar, which means a lot of their money flows into the United States just to hold its value. However, all of this works really well until the one day it doesn't. And that's what recently happened, leading us to the unwind. On Friday, July 31st, Japan made a move that absolutely shocked the markets. They announced an emergency intervention to buy back their own currency with US dollars in an effort to prevent the yen's value from crashing. After all, they had the real concern that if their currency keeps falling, that could ignite even more selling. So they stepped in, dumped the US dollar, and bought back their own currency in an attempt to stop it from collapsing. Now, even though this might sound like Japan's problem and none of our business, the answer is no, not even close. Because what most people forget is that Japan is the single largest foreign holder of US treasuries on the planet.
Bingo, there it is. And let's look at everyone else, right? You got the UK, you got China, right? Listen, let me tell you something. China, if China were to dump their U.S. Treasury bonds, man, it's going to be a bad day here in America. Our economy is going to collapse, right? And just if you just look at what corporations here in the U.S. are doing, it should tell you that a collapse is coming, right? The Supreme Court said that Donald Trump's tariffs were illegal, right? So all of those tariffs that were collected on goods imported to the U.S., like for instance, right? Make sure you follow me on Gedalia Ariala, right? I make these bust down tassels, right? The material, I had to get this from China. I have not re-upped on material in a long time. You want to know why? Because the tariffs are insane. Like the price is doubled. Let's say I order a certain amount of material, right? Let's say I order 500 yards of the material, right? That 500 yards costs X amount of dollars. By the time I'm done with tariffs, it's at 2X. It's like twice the amount. That's happening on an even larger scale for our everyday goods. Look at everything on the back of your on your labels, made in China. All of these things that are getting imported, they're made in other countries, and there's tariffs on them, right? And guess what? That's more cost for who? For the company. What is the company going to do? They're going to pass that cost on to who? to you, to me, to the average American citizen. Guess what happens? Because the Supreme Court said that is illegal and you can't do that, there has to be these tariff refunds. Guess who pays for the tariffs? Directly, the corporations. Who paid for them indirectly? You and I did. Guess what these corporations are doing? They're keeping the refunds. The only company, all right, I was watching Young Turks earlier today. The only country that actually is, not country, the only company rather, that is actually refunding customers is Costco. Apple, Microsoft, whatever corporation, they're keeping that money. These are the same people that fund Trump's election, right? That these are all his billionaire buddies, and they're just keeping the money. It's all a scheme and a racket. Like all Trump is trying to do is enrich himself, his family, and his friends, right? And of course, he is leaving the American people out to dry, right? We're feeling the effects of it. So just imagine if China does that, right? Trump been popping at Canada. Listen, sooner or later it's gonna be bad, right? France ain't fucking with America like that. So, and as this global catastrophe, economic catastrophe continues with this war in Iran, right? Who's being affected the most? Europe. The UK is being affected. France is being affected, right? Germany's being affected. All these countries, they're at some point they're going to have to start dumping the dollar. They're going to have to start having reserves of Chinese yuan if they want to actually have oil. Oil makes the world go round. It's not just gasoline, it's fertilizer, right? Everything is made of plastic that comes from oil. All of that stuff is interconnected, and this is why you're paying higher prices.
So when they sell dollars to buy the yen, they flood the market with U.S. treasuries, which push interest rates higher. And that falls back on absolutely everybody in the form of higher mortgage rates, higher borrowing, and affecting the value of all of the stocks on our entire market. This is why when Japan sells $53 billion, the United States has to act too, because if they don't act together, Japan could take down the market right alongside with them. So in terms of what's happening right now, the impact this is realistically going to have moving forward, and then most importantly, what you could do about it, here's what you came for. Although before we go into that, one thing I find very interesting is that when people talk about so much your brokerage, you open emails from banks and crime with the code Graham. Thank you so much. And now let's get back to the video. All right. So in terms of what's happening right now, the impact we're about to see throughout the markets, and then most importantly, what you could do about it, we got to talk about interest rates. So even though the Federal Reserve controls short-term borrowing between banks, they do not control long-term interest rates, like 10 to 30-year treasuries, which are mostly dictated by supply and demand. And those are arguably the most important because those affect pretty much everything from mortgage rates, corporate borrowing, to even the value of every single stock in your portfolio. And now that other countries have begun selling their treasuries to protect their own currency, interest rates have shot up and are now at their highest level since 2007. Again,
that should be scary. Right? What happened around 2007, family? What happened around that? The recession, right? During the recession, right? The recession happened between like 08 to like 2011-ish, right? The recession was horrible. At various times, right? In 2007, 2008, I was, 16 years old? Right? I was 16. I'm the oldest of three. I went to a private high school, or I went to Catholic high school, so my parents had to pay tuition. Then I was getting ready to go into college, right? My freshman year in college was 2010, right? During the recession, both my parents got laid off from their jobs at various different times. It was horrible economically for everyone, right? When we look at how the recession affected Americans as a whole, right? White people, right? Families that have been able to rebound in net worth, right? After the recession, as the economy got better. Recession for Black people, we were not able to rebound in net worth, right? I believe it was a few years ago, right? There was estimates that by 2050, Blacks and Latinos were expected to have a net worth of 0, with the economic trends?
Bring it out. There was a documentary called The 13th on Netflix a little bit after the recession, I think, came out, or maybe a few years back, and they actually covered all that, and they were literally saying the exact same thing. Our network, like, we didn't rebound after the recession, and we're steadily declining at a higher rate than we did coming out of what's the era?
Talk about the Great Depression, or
not Great Depression. Oh man, Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah, Civil War. When a lot of our people were conservative, Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So they were literally saying, like, we're declining worse than we did from that era.
Imagine that. Yeah. It was better for niggas during Reconstruction, right? Right after Reconstruction, you have the advent of Jim Crow and black codes, where niggas are getting lynched at unprecedented rates. Right? Economically, we declined more after the recession, right? Because as the rich keep getting richer, the poor keep getting poorer, right? All of this, how does this tie into biblical prophecy, right? This ties into, one, the economic collapse is going to trigger the implementation of what? The mark of the beast. Where if you do not receive this mark in your body, right, in your forehead, in your hand, whether it's your right hand or your left hand, you will not be able to engage in buying and selling. You will not be able to engage in commerce, right? And if you receive that mark of the beast, according to what the scriptures say, you, my friend, are going to be destroyed. Actually, let's get that real quick, right? Revelation chapter 13. And let's start at verse 11.
Revelation 13. Come on. Revelation 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb.
2 horns. What horns for an animal signify power, right? Read on.
And spake as a dragon.
And spake as a dragon. How does and these beasts represent countries or kingdoms. How does a country speak? Through its legislative body. The United States has a 2-chambered legislative body, hence the 2 horns, the House and the Senate, right? Read on.
Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So who's this beast? Is talking about the Roman Empire, right? America is just a revised Roman Empire. Even the small hats, right? Israel, the Zionist state of Israel. Netanyahu said himself, America's Rome. Right? Continue.
Gone. Verse 14. Verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men.
Right. Again, going into America's military might, right? Them dropping bombs all over the place, dropping 2,000-pound bombs on little girls, right? Blowing up schools with hundreds of little girls on their second day of school, right? Dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is what America has been doing.
And that's clear day. They shook the world. Nobody wanted anything to do with America. Nobody wanted no beef with America.
America became a superpower after World War II.
Fact.
It was a rising superpower, right? After World War I. World War II, America was stamped, solidified, valid world superpower, right? Read on.
Yeah. Right, verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live.
Right. So again, that beast is the Roman Empire, right? The Roman Empire, right, spread was what? Western Europe, right? when we look at contextually in chapter 13, this beast from the sea is talking about the revised Roman Empire, which is NATO, the EU, Western Europe, right? So America did this in the sight of the beast, right? Because they were allied with the beast, right? And they made an image to the beast, right? The original beast before it was wounded, right? The Roman Empire, right? This all over social media, there's been like a trend for the last couple of years of white men just reminiscing about the so-called glory days of the Roman Empire. They're just so fascinated with the idea of the Roman Empire. Why? Because it's when their forefathers had power. Same way when we look at the scriptures, when you're so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, and you understand that you're an Israelite, and you read the scriptures, and you read about the feats of David and him slaying Goliath, and you read about all the different kings in Israel, right? You get a sense of pride. Right, same thing with these people. Right, read on.
And they like to forward the notion that Rome was the big contributor to the advancement of civilization. So it yeah, with Greek, but mainly with Rome, it's like they forward the hell out of that. So it's like they believe, that's where a lot of that superior them being that manifest destiny, right? And
that whole
superiority thing begins. Because look what we look what we evolved the earth into.
Real quick, brother Dave says, how do you break down the feast days? Right, our feast day calendar is right here. I just dropped the link. You can download our calendar. Right, we keep the feast days as the scriptures tell us to, right, in accordance to the lunar phases. Right, so right now, a lot of people in Israel, it's the Sabbath right now. It's not the Sabbath, right? The Sabbath is Monday evening, right? This upcoming Monday into Tuesday, right? This upcoming Tuesday will be new moon, right? Will be new moon, which starts a new month. The Sabbath fall on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th of the Hebrew lunar month, right? And our next feast day would be the Feast of Trumpets, followed by the Day of Atonement, followed by the Feast of Tabernacles. But again, you can click the link, right? You can download our feast day calendar. Right, let's get back into Revelation.
Okay. What verse was that?
Verse 15.
Verse 15. And he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
So what is the image of the beast, right? The image of the beast is white supremacy, right? Rome ruled out of the idea that they were supreme, right? It had the divine will to rule over men. That's why they went around conquering, right? Stamping out different nations. The same concept, right, is what led the European powers to go around and to conquer Africa, to conquer the New World, right? For America to rise, that little one to rise out of the original 13 colonies, right? Absorb the Spanish colonies, absorb the French colonies, right? To go on to be an empire of its own, right? This is the same mindset, right, where the white man here in America had, manifest destiny. It's our God-given right to rule, all right, from sea to shining sea, right? Read on.
Verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Come on.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
Right. So again, this mark, the Greek word rather, for mark is the Greek word charagma, which goes back to the Greek word charax, which means to etch or engrave, right? So now, let me see. When we go to the next chapter, what the hell is going on? Why is this tripping? File, edit, view. Why is this one tripping? Right. So when we look at Revelation chapter 14, let me see real quick. What verse am I looking for?
What you referencing?
So I want to go into the punishment for receiving the mark, right?
Okay.
All right, verse 9. Watch this.
Revelation 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand.
Or in his what?
Or in his hand.
It doesn't specify right hand or left hand, right? It just says in his hand. So anyone that worships the beast and receiveth his mark in his hand, read on.
The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
So if you receive this mark, right, this thing that they're going to cause individuals to receive in their body, right? Now, if you don't have this, you will not be able to engage in buying and selling. You will not be able to engage in commerce, right? You will receive the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture, right? You're going to die via a grievous death, fire and brimstone, right? We read about fire and brimstone with Sodom and Gomorrah, right? When we look at Revelation chapter 11, right, in verse 8, it says that this place is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? So it's getting the same fate as Sodom and Egypt, right? So what is this mark? What is the mark of the beast? I've done several videos on this, right? The mark of the beast is the RFID microchip. If you do not, when this is implemented, if you receive it, you're going to die. Point blank, period. Right? There's no repenting of it. Right? So for all the silly ass Israelites that say, oh, the mark of the beast is Christianity, is sin. You can repent of sin. Most of us have been Christians. We're literally trying to pull our people out of Christianity.
Like, think about it. Christ himself said that, you can repent it if you even curse him. Right? The only thing he said is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit you can't repent from. But he said you can repent cursing Christ.
Yeah. Right? And again, he said you can't, in the next life, you won't receive forgiveness if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, right? Now, when we're looking at this right here, right, receiving the mark, it has a judgment, right? Those individuals are going to be resurrected, right? And they'll live again at some point in time, but again, they're going to die a grievous death. Actually, when you really look at it and you tie this in with what he says in John chapter 5, right, there's a resurrection of two resurrections: the resurrection unto life unto them that have done good, and the resurrection unto damnation to them that have done evil, right? So Babylon being destroyed, right, via fire and brimstone, right, that's a judgment. Niggas are gonna die. There's a second death. So you're gonna die here in Babylon and then get resurrected, because after that, right, there's other prophecies that are happening on the other side of the world, right? Children of Israel being going under the bond of the covenant, Gog and Magog, and the valley of Jehoshaphat. All of that happens, right? The lake of fire is created, right? You're gonna die here and get resurrected, to get thrown into the lake of fire over there. So again, this is why it's important for us to understand and know what's going on, right? The scriptures tell us to measure the time diligently in itself, right? We got to measure the time. Okay. So now, right, let's get back to this video real quick.
I gotta go pick up my rib and the baby, so I'm gonna head out.
All right, Khan, Shalawam out.
Shalom, family. I'm gonna give you a call in the morning.
All praises.
Shalom.
All right. So give me a second. All right, so let's get back into this video. Which they've already done. They've already, I think, $5 billion. Right? They spent $5 billion to bail out Japan so that our economy won't just plummet. Now, another reason why America's currency is the global standard and is the global reserve currency, or has been due to the American military industrial complex. That's been one of the main driving forces. So what has America resulted in? Piracy. Trump and the American regime, right? They resorted rather to piracy. This is why he invaded. Not even invaded. They did a special mission, got into Venezuela, kidnapped the president and his wife, took him up on out of there, sent their people in there, and now they took their gold, took Venezuela's gold, right, and taking oil from them. But again, it's still not helping us, right? All that gold is in an account that Trump controls. I believe that the account is in the UAE, or I believe it's the UAE. So again, we are it's about to get real bad, right? I want to get a scripture real quick, right? Watch this. Let's go to the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk chapter 1 or 2, rather. Habakkuk chapter 2. And I'll just start from the top, right? It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I improve. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come to pass. It will not tarry. Right? The word tarry means to wait. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Right? Whose soul is not upright within him? It's the Edomites, the so-called white man, right? The border of wickedness, as the scriptures call him, right? Yea, also because he transgressive by wine, right? Transgressive by wine, right? Real quick, let's go to the book of Revelation. Book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, chapter 17, right? Revelation chapter 17 and verse 1, it says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Who is this great whore? This is Babylon, all right, America, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Right? So all of the philosophies and ideologies that is American, right? That's that wine. Wine is symbolic of doctrine, prophetically, right? So it says that he transgresseth by wine, right? He is a proud man, right? What does the scripture say? Pride cometh before destruction. Who's hey, look who is the leader, right, of America, of Babylon? Donald J. Trump. Ain't no one on the planet more proud than this guy. This guy, right, wears a diaper. He shits himself every other day, right? He has a horrible orange tint to him. His hair is always a mess. But he is the proudest nigga to ever walk on this earth, right? It says, in a taunting proverb against him, right here in verse 5, he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Donald Trump don't keep his ass at home. America don't keep their ass at home. That's why they're getting ready to try to invade Cuba. America's getting ready to invade Cuba, right? America is trying to do a ground invasion of Iran. It's gonna go well, right? The ground invasion is gonna go really well, right? America's going all over the world, stealing things. America has bases in over 200 countries, over 100 countries, if I'm not mistaken. Thousands of bases all over the world. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, right? This word hell in the Hebrew, the word Sheol means the grave, right? Because niggas die every day, B, right? The grave is hungry. Every day the grave is eaten because niggas keep dying. And is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. America is known as the what? The great melting pot, right? Shall not these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, right? So let's take a look at this phrase, thick clay, in the Hebrew, right? Thick clay. Weight of pledges, heavy debts. America has heavy debts, right? We're 40 trillion with a T, not a B, $40 trillion in debt. That's America for you. That's Babylon the Great for you, right? This place is finito, right? So let's continue. again, he don't know, right? He may be an economist, right? I'm not sure, right, what his trade is. However, right, we don't know how any of this can play out, right? All I know is that when I look at what's going on currently, right, and we measure the time diligently and see what, because like I think last time we did a Bible Q&A, someone asked, "What's the next prophecy that we're waiting for?" Right, and I said the next prophecy that we're waiting for is the implementation of the mark of the beast. Like, because right now, Jacob, we're in trouble, right? The children of Israel, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, we are clearly in trouble, right? You got ICE raids, that's still going on, right? It's hasn't been heavily pushed in the media. Why? Because what's been dominating the media? This war with Iran in the economy and Trump's approval ratings and the midterm elections. All of that has superseded the story about ICE. That's still going on, right? America's getting ready to do what? To invade Cuba. Why? Because we're broke. Our economy's, but guess what? They're going to invade Cuba, and what's going to happen? Trump and his cronies are going to get enriched, and it's not going to have any effect or help to the American people. That's just how the cookie crumbles, right? So again, we are very, very close, and that mark is around the corner, right? So yeah, we're gonna dive into another video in a second, right? Again, if y'all got any questions, because this is a Bible Q&A, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat, right? Any questions, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. Let me just queue up this video real quick. Find this. All right. All right, so let's go into this Cuba situation. Again, fair use. These are simply my thoughts about this content, right? For educational purposes and potential critique, right? So let me get the fair use in the chat. Fair use in the chat. All right, that's laughable at best. All right, so for the record, Marco Rubio, he is Cuban, right? He's Cuban, but he's an Edomite, right? What you got to understand is that when we talk about, can everyone else hear the video? Share screen, plays audio. You should be able to hear it. All right, looks like we just got a question real quick. Shalawam, brother, is alchemy considered sorcery? And if so, is being an apothecary unlawful? An apothecary is just an herbalist, essentially, right? Something wrong with herbs. Alchemy, I believe, is I forget exactly what alchemy is. Alchemy is the ancient philosophical and proto-scientific tradition focused on turning base metals like lead into gold, creating an elixir of life, and achieving universal knowledge. It's not real. that's the thing about it. Alchemy is not real. It's some bullshit. So yeah, let's get back into the video.
existential threat, have been for decades. That's false, by the way. If you actually study, Russian communists did invade our government to the highest levels in the 1950s and the 1940s. The government maligned the one person who actually wanted to do something about that, Joseph McCarthy. The term McCarthyism, you may not know, was a State Department created term to malign anyone who knew this, like the term conspiracy theorist was also created by the government for anyone who believed that the government had something to do with JFK. So when you use McCarthyism, you are using propaganda. I just want to tell you that. Today we have Israeli government invasion of our own government. It's plain as day.
I was about to say, like, it's funny that Marco Rubio is talking about invasion of government. He was just receiving orders from his boss, Benjamin Netanyahu, at Lindsey Graham's funeral just last week, right? So I find that funny that Marco would say something so silly. But again, he's a politician.
Day to anyone who is looking. In fact, Israeli occupation of our government now is to the point where we have coordinated our militaries with the IDF. But no, the White House says.
Yep, we went into that last week, right? The Section 219 of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, was passed by the House. It hasn't been voted on in the Senate yet, and I think the Senate's about to go on break. So the thing is, I think what they're probably going to do with that is they're probably going to wait until after the midterm elections to vote on that, because it's highly unpopular, okay, to say the least. America disapproves of the Zionist state of Israel at unprecedented numbers right now. But let's continue.
Cuba. Here is Marco Rubio selling that fear to Fox News. Fox News all too happy to stoke it. Watch.
To the average American, you see Cuba, small country, 90 miles off our shores, 9.5 million people population. What people forget that when it comes to things like espionage and influence operations, they actually are an influence and espionage superpower. If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system without even paying them. We had an ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, who ended up being a Cuban spy and was recently convicted. We've had them penetrate the highest levels of the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Oh my God. Like, hearing this schmuck say this while AIPAC just spent billions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars. Hold on real quick. My camera is tripping. Can y'all hear me, family? Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. We're back, right? So, again, hearing him say this is insane when AIPAC just spent over $100 million to try to stop this Democratic politician who's running for, I believe, the House of Representatives in Michigan. They spent $100 million to defeat him, right? In favor of, I think her name is Lindsay something, right? She's an ogre looking bitch, right? She lost, right? It was so funny. She had a speech where she says, "Israel comes to me in my dreams. I will always fight for Israel." But you're running for office in America. I thought it was America first. But no, it's all Israel first. This war is about Israel. This war is happening because Benjamin Netanyahu wants it to happen. Right? Ultimately, it's because the Most High God wants it to happen. And the Most High God has the heart of the king in his hand, and he turns it however he wills. Right? So it's just funny hearing Big Ear Marco say this.
Anna Belen Montez was one of the single biggest intelligence failures on the part of the United States and one of the biggest penetrations we've ever had in our system. So, and then on the influence front, if you look all throughout Latin America, every communist left-wing insurgency that's destabilized governments across the region, every single one of them over the last...
Oh my God. Hypocrisy. America has destabilized countries and governments all over Latin America. What is this guy talking about?
40, 50 years has found its support, its help, in many cases its birth from a Cuban influence operation. So it was an important report just to highlight the role they play in our country, a very negative role.
Okay.
I like this comment from my tube for you too. Says Cuba is 17 hours away from having the bomb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most likely. Now, Politico is reporting that the U.S. is sending more intelligence assets into Cuba. According to reports, they say such intelligence moves could portend actions ranging from a U.S. military operation to stepped-up efforts to turn Cuban officials or ordinary citizens against the regime. Does this sound familiar to you? It is exactly what we're doing in Iran right now, either military violence or incite regime change. Okay. The report that Marco Rubio is referring to is this one here. It's called Cuba, the Capital of 21st Century Communism. It was released in July. It says, in fact, that Cuba has destabilized countries around the world in multiple continents into chaos. And in fact, we can link them to every extremist movement inside our borders, including Antifa, Black Panthers, anti-ICE collective, Marxists. Here is my favorite part. It is the modern day equivalent of they hate our freedoms. That since Cuba, not that one, the next one says, when Cuba was founded in 1959, their only reason of existing is always to get that United States, the destruction of the Yankee imperialist regime. Okay, it goes on to say that Cuba basically picked up where the Soviet Union left off. It has been biding its time all these years. Although if you read the report, most of the proof that they have is dated the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So nothing really modern. Even that spy that they showed was dated 2001. But no, it's Cuba right now. You better be afraid. Are you afraid? Joining us to discuss the state of this war is Colonel Dan Davis from the Deep Dive with Dan Davis. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Colonel.
Are you anxietized about Cuba? Is that top of mind right now?
Lord have mercy. The only way that Cuba comes to the top of my mind is
This is tripping Slocky family.
burr under the saddle of, I don't know if it's Marco Rubio or he's convinced Trump. I don't know what is going on, but there is literally no.
What is going on? This joint is tripping.
A U.S. invasion, very similar.
Is Colonel Dan Davis from the Deep Dive with Dan Davis. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Colonel.
Are you anxietized about
Can y'all hear?
Cuba? Is that top of mind right now?
Me? Can y'all hear me?
Have mercy.
I can't even hear the video right now.
The only way that Cuba comes to the top of my mind is what in the hell are we doing with Cuba? What is it that's gotten under the burr under the saddle of, I don't know if it's Marco Rubio or he's convinced Trump. I don't know what is going
on. We get a one in the chat if y'all can hear the video.
on. But there is literally no justification for this whatsoever. I mean,
stop sharing. Oh, okay, I see why. Okay, I figured it out. Salakia family for the interruption. Here we go. Sure.
Rubio says to the highest levels and the
I mean, comes to the top of my mind is what in the hell are we doing with Cuba? What is it that's gotten under the burr under the saddle of, I don't know if it's Marco Rubio or he's convinced Trump. I don't know what is going on, but there is literally no justification for this whatsoever. I mean, look, I've been to Cuba. I went there and I want to say it was 2015 on a church mission trip. We went down there and met some wonderful people. I mean, everybody that we met is great people, but it was also eye-opening because we didn't go into the major cities. We went into some of the smaller places, and that place can barely keep the lights on. They can.
Right. So the U.S. has, I believe, they have sanctions and I believe a blockade where they can't get oil brought into Cuba. Right. When they went and destabilized Venezuela and took Maduro out, Maduro was sending oil at lower rates to Cuba. Right. Shout out to Venezuela because they've helped a lot of Latin American countries, right? Trinidad, Jamaica, all these different countries, right? These Latin American countries, these Caribbean countries where our people are, right? Maduro, because of the blessing that the tribe of Asher was given, right? Having tons of oil, right, and other natural resources. Trump came in, of course, made war with Venezuela, kidnapped their president, and is destabilizing their country, right? I want to just bring out a preset real quick. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and Slovakia, right? We're going to go to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 19. Watch this. It says, "Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others," right? So here in Daniel 7, Daniel, he sees a vision of these four different beasts that arise out of the earth that represent different kingdoms, right? First beast represented the Babylonians, the second represented the Medo-Persians, the third represented the Greek Empire, and then the fourth represented the Roman Empire, right? The Roman Empire fell and was revised through the Western European power structure and America, right? So he's getting the breakdown, right? Daniel's getting the interpretation, right? So watch this. It says, "It was exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, breaking pieces, and stamped the residue with its feet. And the 10 horns which were in his head, and of the other which came up," right? So there's 10 horns, and there's another little horn that comes up. That little horn is America, right? It goes on to say, "And before whom 3 fell." Who are these 3 that fell? You got Britain, you got Spain, and you got France. They fell because America to become a country, beat the British, right? They were able to beat the Spanish in the Spanish-American War, right? That's how they have control over Puerto Rico, right? And of course, they were able to get power over the French with the Louisiana Purchase, right? So it says it has even a horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld the same horn, right? That's little horn, that same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So when the U.S. invades Cuba, they're going to prevail against our people, which is what? Jacob's trouble, right? Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, and verse 7. It reads, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it," right? So though they're going to prevail against us in war, right, we're going to be saved out of it, right? The Most High God is going to save his people, right? It says, "For it shall come to pass in that day, say the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck." Right now, specifically the Edomite, right, the so-called white man, they have their neck, their foot on our neck. They have a yoke on our neck. It says, "And I will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him," right? White men like Donald Trump will not be able to send their militaries, their armies into our land and steal our governmental officials. It's not going to happen when the Most High God delivers us, right? It says, "But they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king," which is, of course, Yahawashi, "whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear ye not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity." Right now we're in captivity. "And Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid." Right now, when you look at Cuba is ruled by essentially the Castro regime. The new president, I think he's related to Castro, but he's an Edomite, right? The vast majority of the rulers of these different countries where Israelites live, right, in Latin America, right, here in the Western Hemisphere, they're all ruled by heathen, right? Actual Israelites don't rule. Oh, we don't rule over ourselves. We're in captivity, okay? So elsewhere, right, again, we saw that this horn would be able to make war with the saints. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 13, right? Revelation chapter 13 and verse 7. Watch this. I'll start. I'll start verse 5. It says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And so talking about the Israelites, right? Them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And the power was given him over all kindreds and languages and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of the Lamb slain before the foundation of the earth, right? So going into, right, the Western European power structure, the revised Roman Empire, okay? So again, all of this is playing out, right? Biblical prophecy is playing out each and every day, okay? I actually want to go into some things that I saw here on TikTok, right? Some news, right? So let me find what I was looking for. Right, so Room, watch this, right? China warns the United States. China responds to the U.S.'s plan for military operations against China. The U.S. should immediately stop threatening Cuba with force and stop unilateral sanctions against China. China firmly supports Cuba in defending its national sovereignty and opposing external interference, right? So all of this is happening, right? And all of this, what is going on? This one's tripping. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it just like this. Watch. Let's just switch cameras. All right. So again, all of this is happening, right? Jacob's trouble, right? We got our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Manasseh down there in Cuba, right? Again, I'm not saying that every so-called Cuban is of the tribe of Manasseh, right? We look at, what's this schmuck's name? Marco Rubio. He's an Edomite, right? So our people are in trouble, and we are. It's just about to be a really bad time, right? When we look at the book of Daniel, chapter 12, it says, let me just get it real quick. It says that this trouble that we're going to be in is going to be worse than any time, right? So Daniel 12:1, it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince that standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book, right? So this time of trouble, Jacob's trouble, is going to be worse than anything that has ever happened in the history of humanity. It says it's going to be worse than since it's ever been a nation on the earth. Family, this is bad, right? However, we have hope, right? We have hope through our King, our Savior, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who died for the nation of Israel, who shed his blood for us, right? If we abide in him and abide in his word and abide in keeping the commandments, we'll be delivered out of it. It means that we're written in the book of the Lamb, right? One of my favorite scriptures, Psalms 34:7, the angel of the Lord encampeth around about them that fear him, right? You have to, if you don't fear the Most High God by keeping his commandments, then guess what? The Most High God's not going to have his angels protecting you. And that's what we desperately need right now. We need the protection of the Most High God so that we can get delivered out of this, right? So that we can get saved out of this, right? Any questions? Any questions in the chat? Any questions? No questions? So it's a the Q&A, family. Go ahead and ask your questions. Right. Just look at what's going on all over the world, right? China's world first hypersonic glider achieves constant readiness. Why? Because war is in the air, right? Actually, let's get that real quick, right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, right? Jeremiah 50, right? Again, it's a prophecy against Babylon, right? Jeremiah 50 and verse 2. Declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces, right? So it's, again, a standard is what, right? If you ever watch House of the Dragon or you watch Game of Thrones, right? When they're going into battle, they have what? They have bannermen, right? They have these standards. So you know which army is which, right? For instance, in the book of Exodus chapter 17, right, and 15, right, where we are warring with the Amalekites. Exodus 17:15 says that that Moses built an altar and they named it Yahawah Nasiah, for Yahweh is our banner, right? And then he goes on to say in verse 16 that the Lord will make war with Amalek from generation to generation, right? So it's about war, right? Now let's jump down. Jump down to verse 18. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, and I will punish the king of Assyria, and I will bring Israel again to his habitation. And he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. Now, is this talking about ancient Babylon? Right? Because when I look at Carmel and Bashan, Bashan was the land that Manasseh, right? We were just going into what? Into America, right? This little horn making war with the saints, right? The tribe of Manasseh down there in Cuba, right? America, the whore, the little horn, one of the beasts that we read about, is going to make war with the saints, right? Babylon is making war with the saints. It says that Israel, who will bring Israel again to his habitation and feed upon Carmel and Bashan. This is all northern kingdom, Ephraim and Manasseh territory. And his soul shall be satisfied upon the Mount Ephraim and Gilead. In those days, and in that time, said the Lord, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. That's clearly not talking about ancient Babylon, because guess what? After Babylon, yeah, the Lord allowed the southern kingdom of Judah to return under the Medo-Persians. But what happened right after that? The Greeks came against us, and then the Romans came against us, and our temple got destroyed. Right? Why? Because of our iniquity. Right? It says God's going to search for our iniquity, but there shall be none. Why? Because under the bond of the covenant, it says that he's going to forgive us our sins and remember them no more. And the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. So, Lord willing, right? Again, see, this is the thing about Christianity. Christianity teaches that you don't even have to attempt to keep God's commandments. Oh, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So they advocate for you to continue to fall short of the glory of God. They advocate for you to sin so that grace may abound. But the scriptures tell us, no, you can't do that, right? It goes on to say, go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pakad, waste and utterly destroy after them, save the Lord, and according to all that I have commanded thee. The sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. The sound of battle is in the land, man, right? America's already fighting a battle against who? Against the Medes, against the Persians, right? Verse 23, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations, right? America is about to be destroyed. America has been the hammer of the whole earth. America has been the world's superpower, going around the world, destabilizing governments, setting up coups, doing all types of stuff, kidnapping sovereign leaders. This is what America has done. This is Babylon the Great, right? Watch this. It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. How has Babylon striven against the Lord? Right? We read prophetically, Daniel 7, Revelation 13, that they made war with the saints. The Most High God says that he that touches you touches the apple of my eye. So when these nations make war against God's people, they're making war against our God, right? So they've striven against the Lord, okay? Verse 25, the Lord hath opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of the Lord, Yahawah of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Now, did this happen to ancient Babylon? No, this did not happen in ancient Babylon. You can go visit ancient Babylon today, right? So slay all her bullocks. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, and the time of their visitation. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare into Zion the vengeance of the Lord our God, the vengeance of his temple, right? Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, right? We just saw here, right, that China, they got a hypersonic, they have hypersonic gliders. They're in constant readiness. Why? Why? Listen, Rocket Man can't wait to blow something up. The Most High God is bringing the archers together, right? The archers are getting ready to destroy Babylon, right? They're getting ready to bend the bow, right? It says, where was that? Verse 29, call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her, for she hath been proud against the Lord and against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord. Right now, there's been a bunch of military personnel, right, leadership. You got tons of colonels and generals who are clamoring for Trump and Hegseth to get taken out, right? Taken out of power. Okay. Let me find this real quick. Watch this. Watch this. Mute that, right? So breaking. Approximately 1 hour after announcing his resignation, the following statement attributed to U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Randy George became a trending topic on social media. Donald Trump absolutely needs to be hospitalized. I am seriously concerned about his mental state. He is dragging the U.S. military into disaster. Again, this is that trap. This is that snare that the Most High God has set up for Babylon. His generals, right? His generals are dropping like flies. Not meaning that they're dying, but they're resigning, right? Niggas are getting fired. Why? Because these military leaders, one, they understand that Pete Hegseth is a goddamn buffoon. That he has no clue what he's doing. That the Trump regime, they're fighting this war to protect Donald Trump from the Epstein allegations. I just saw earlier today that the Pentagon just released some UFO files. All right, we already know about the UFOs. So niggas don't care about that. Niggas want them Epstein files. But no, you can't expose Trump for being the pedophile that he is. No, you can't do that. Why would we do that? Let's send America's men and women, their sons and daughters, into battle to get slaughtered. Let's do that. Again, the Most High God has Babylon in a trick bag, right? He said, verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord, right? So let's jump back down. Verse 31, it says, behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahawah of hosts. For thy day is come, and the time that I will visit thee, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall rise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. Right? This place is going to be destroyed, right? Now let's go to Isaiah chapter 13, right? Because again, this all the prophets, they're singing different notes, but it's a beautiful harmony, right? Right, you got, listen, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, the four major prophets, right? There's like a quartet. Barbershop harmony, man. Watch this, right? This is what? The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. Lift it ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, them that rejoice in my highness. Right? Let me jump down. Watch this. Verse 6. How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. Right? Even these mighty men, right? These warriors, these men who've been trained in what they've been trained in military tactics, right? They've been trained to kill. Their hearts are gonna melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth, a woman giving birth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Guess what? Our people are here too, right? The scriptures tell you that the sinners of my people shall die by the sword as well. This is why we implore our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, you are the Israelites. It would behoove you to start keeping God's commandments. Honestly, it's the only thing that's going to deliver you from the destruction that's coming to the place that we call home. For the stars of the heaven, the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Right? Who's, again, more proud than an American, than a white American? Who's more proud than Donald Trump? The Most High God is going to lay his haughtiness, his pride down. Right? I'm going to jump down. Watch this. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, their wives ravished. Right? This is coming here, right? Verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Right? Now, when we had this MOU signed, what was Iran asking for? They were asking for reparations. They were asking for easing of sanctions, right? Releasing their assets that had been frozen. And what happened? Immediately, the state of Israel violated the ceasefire, and America violated the ceasefire. They violated the MOU by opening up another route close to Oman through the Strait of Hormuz. So because America, right, the enemy, they refuse to actually follow treaties, follow agreements, memorandums of understanding, why would I regard your word anymore? Why would I regard, man, screw your silver and your gold. You're dropping bombs on my children, right? You're bombing our infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, which are war crimes. America has committed crimes against humanity. And the biggest crimes against humanity has been the rape, robbery, and murder that they've committed against the children of God, which are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here in the Western Hemisphere, right? It says, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. They shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. When Iran, right, and everyone aligned with Iran and America's allies, as the scriptures tell us in the book of Revelation, that the 10 horns shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. America is going to have to do something so heinous, so vile in the sight of the world that even her allies are going to say enough's enough. Wipe them out. Iran's not going to care about little babies in the womb, pregnant women here in America when they bend that bow and they let them arrows fly. Why should they? America has been dropping. Listen, the second day of the war, they killed hundreds of little girls. Let me tell you something. That's so pussy. If you are a man, if you're a warrior, you don't kill women and children. You just don't do that. But America does that because America is a terrorist state. America has been terrorizing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right, since these devils came on over here. They've been doing it for over 250 years, right? And since America has become a superpower, they've been going all over the world. They can't keep at home. They heap unto themselves all peoples, right, and take what's not theirs and spread terror. Have drones, drop bombs on children in hospitals and schools, all types of stuff. Why should Iran care about women and children here in America? When is enough going to be enough? Why should they care? Like, I remember a few years ago, they released, Osama bin Laden wrote a letter to the American people, right? And I remember reading portions of it, or at least listening to portions of it when it came out. And basically, Osama said that Americans pay their taxes that they know is going to the killing of women and children all over the world, roughly paraphrasing. And again, listen, I hear a lot of people in America, they're sick and tired of our taxpayer dollars going to Israel, going to funding the genocide, going to funding destruction and terror all over the world. Many people have advocated for not paying taxes. But the average American either don't give a good goddamn, they don't care because it doesn't affect them. So again, why should the Medes, why should the Persians care about anyone here when our government, we allow and enable our government to go ahead and do these atrocities, right? It says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, Isaiah chapter 13 and 19, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. Arabs live around Babylon right now. It's called Iraq. There's Arabs living there right now. So this is not talking about ancient Babylon. This is talking about modern day Babylon, Babylon the Great, which is America. So America is on a precipitous decline, right? The Most High God has Babylon in a trick bag, in a chokehold of sorts, and this place is days are numbered, right? So let's go one last script real quick. Jeremiah chapter 31. Actually, let me see if I can find a video. Oh man, let me see if I can find this real quick. Let me see if I can find this. Damn, what was it on? Because a lot of generals and a lot of military leaders are either resigning or they're trying to find ways to get up out of this war. Because listen, we don't have enough interceptors. So our soldiers, and I use our lightly, our soldiers on these aircraft carriers, on these destroyers, they're essentially sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks. Iran could just send a swarm of drones, and this is why Trump wants to use tactical nukes, so-called tactical nukes. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what a tactical nuke is. I don't know what that is, right? Let me find this real quick. I think it was on Young Turks. Let me see real quick. Is it Young Turks? No, it wasn't Young Turks. Let's see, it's a breaking point. Oh, it might be Midas Touch. Midas Touch. Let me see. Right, again, family, this is a Q&A, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask your questions. I think this is the video I want to watch. All right, watch this, family. Again, fair use, fair use. This is for educational purposes. Again, this is insane, right? This is actually insane. Y'all can't. You said you can't hear it. Give me 1 second, right? Let me stop screen share. Boom, share screen.
That the United States military is unable to military general.
Let me get a 1 in chat if y'all can hear. Let me get ones in the chat if y'all can hear.
Generals and admirals are calling out the Trump regime's handling, or I should say mishandling, catastrophic mishandling of the catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran. Folks, we have never seen leaks like this in modern presidential history, or perhaps ever in presidential history, of what just transpired over the past 24 to 48 hours. Top defense officials, top generals, top admirals have gone to every media outlet to call out Trump, to call out Hegseth, to raise the alarms that the United States has depleted all of its munitions. It has depleted critical military equipment, that the United States is abandoning its military bases in the Middle East.
Let me ask you guys, think about this. Imagine in the ancient world, if the Assyrians went into war and didn't have any bows and arrows. All their bows broke. They ran out of arrows. Imagine going to war against an army that's heavily armed, right? You're trying to invade someone, right? Not you're defending yourself, but you're trying to invade a country. You're trying to destabilize the government in said country, because that's what they want, right? Destabilization of the Iranian regime. And you don't have bows and arrows. You ran out of arrows. That's what America is doing right now. And again, we just read it in Jeremiah 50 that the Most High God has them in a snare, in a trap. Because again, America has spent trillions of dollars. We spend more money on defense every year, more than almost every country combined. We spend more money. Where is this money going to, family? What you would think that, oh, you have the best military equipment in the world. Oh, you think going into Iran will be easy peasy lemon squeezy? Oh no, it's not. It's a quagmire, right? It's a freaking swamp. Trump ran on drain the swamp, no more new wars, America first. But ever since this nigga been in office, it's been, let me enrich myself, let me enrich my friends, let me go invade places, right? Now let me go to war with Iran. Yo, this guy is the perfect idiot. The perfect idiot to get this place destroyed. To utterly topple the American terrorist regime. Because America has been nothing but a terrorist all over the world. Americans wonder why people hate us. Like, even just on like a small scale, right? Whenever it's the Olympics, the World Cup, right? Any of these global sporting events, everyone just hates Americans because Americans are so goddamn obnoxious and proud. Everyone hates us. Why? When everyone hates you, everyone can't be wrong. Everyone can't be wrong. It's got to be you. It's got to be something that you're doing as to why everyone hates you. Everyone hates America. Everyone hates Americans. Everyone hates America. Why? Because the shit that we do, the shit that our country does, that's why everyone hates America, right? So, again, going back to the point, imagine going to war and not having any arrows. It just doesn't make sense. Babylon is in a trap.
That the United States military is unable to even protect the homeland right now. The United States, if there were to be an escalation, homeland, that the United States
Watch this. Watch this.
The United States is abandoning its military bases in the Middle East, that the United States military is unable to even protect the homeland right now. The United States, if there were to be an escalation of any war, not just in Iran, but anywhere in the world, and these top military generals, admirals, and defense officials are also making it clear that Trump regime officials who work with Hegseth, people like this guy, Elbridge Colby, who called himself a China hawk. He's the number 2 at the Defense Department. He and Hegseth are like locked at the hip. This guy, Colby, who was saying how he's going to go after China and be strong when the Trump regime started, he's been begging Xi Jinping to visit China. And Xi Jinping's like, we don't want to see you, you pathetic, weak weasel. Stay the hell out of China. And Elbridge Colby's like, please, Xi, can I be to China? And Xi Jinping's like, no, we don't want to see you here. We remember when you threatened us, and now that you don't have weapons, you want to suck up to us. So the military generals and
Guys, can y'all see how this is a trap? Can you just see how this... Listen, man. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Let me tell you something. Paul and the apostles, I get it, right? They jumped the gun, right? They thought that, you know what I mean, salvation, like deliverance, restoration of Israel would happen within their day, and I don't knock them for it, right? So when Paul said in Revelation 13:11, our salvation is nearer than we believe, that statement has not been any truer than it is today. There has not been a time in the history of humanity where that statement is more true than today. And it'll be even closer, even more true tomorrow, in the next day. In the next day, we are clearly in the last days, right? We are on the precipice of the restoration of the nation, the people, the children of Israel, the children of Yasharahla. All praise to the Most High, right? So let me get a scripture real quick. Watch this. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51. Listen, man, we don't want to go to war. We want out of this war. This war it's not helping us. We're not prepared for this war. Where do I want to start? All right, let's start at verse 25. Jeremiah 51 and verse 25. Behold, I am against the old destroying mountain, save the Lord, which destroys all the earth. And I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and I'll make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Again, this same talk of this particular Babylon getting destroyed. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. Against who? Against Babylon. Who is Babylon? Babylon is America in this context. Call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her. Cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. The Medes dwelt in this place known as Persia, which is today Iran. The captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And all the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon. Every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The same thing that Isaiah just said in chapter 13, right? Verse 31, verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Listen, when this war first started, I think it was the USS Abraham Lincoln, or the USS Abramson, right? It was like this huge aircraft carrier. The soldiers were flushing clothes and all types of stuff down the toilet to sabotage the ship because they did not want to fight in this war. They don't want no smoke with Iran, and rightfully so. All of these admirals and generals and colonels, right? They're leaking information telling the American media, listen, we don't have enough munitions to defend ourselves, to defend our bases, or even to defend the homeland. Look at the trap, look at the snare that the Most High God has this place in. All praise to the Most High, right? It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They don't want to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed because they became as women. They are burned. They have burned their dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that the city is taken at one end, right? So, listen, man, this place, it's about to be over. It's really about to be over.
How bad are these leaks? Well, let's just take a look right here. NBC News cites 4 sources, top sources within the military who are familiar with the matter on how angry Donald Trump is, how humiliated he feels that he called one of the other top officials at the Department of Defense, this guy named Feinberg, and there was this emergency crisis Pentagon meeting where Feinberg was being blamed by Hegseth. But the people in this article say that Feinberg actually was trying to deal with the ballistics and the interceptors and all of the issues that our military was dealing with for a long time, and that Hegseth had always been trying to undermine Feinberg. And then Hegseth tried to throw Feinberg under the bus, but it seems the top generals, admirals, and defense officials have Feinberg's back. But there were 4 sources in the NBC story talking about that Donald Trump is isolated, alone, humiliated, and panicked right now. Then you have the Reuters story citing 3 people familiar with the data.
Again, we just read about this in the Bible. What we are witnessing with our eyes in the current events on the global scale, specifically concerning America, Babylon the Great, and its military. We just read what the Bible said thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago, the Most High God spoke a word through the prophet Jeremiah, through the prophet Isaiah, through the prophet Daniel, through all the prophets. And we're watching it come to pass. Listen, man, I truly believe that we are our generation. We will see the destruction of our enemies. We will see the fall of Babylon the Great, and we will see the restoration of Israel. I wholeheartedly believe that we are part of that generation, right? I mean, listen. No man knows a day or the hour, right? That the Most High God might call them home, might pluck their flower. But man, oh man, oh man, I truly believe that our generation, that we shall see the fall of Babylon.
Specifying that virtually all of the ATACMS and precision strike missiles, those ATACMS, those HIMARS, those offensive weapons that were used heavily and the catastrophic war in Iran, that we've depleted virtually all of those. No ATACMS, no THAAD interceptors, no Patriot PAC-3 interceptors, no SM-2, SM-3, SM-6 anti-ballistics on Navy destroyers. They're citing our NATO command as recognizing the U.S. is out of weapons, and CENTCOM officials saying that the U.S. Has run out of weapons. CENTCOM sources told Reuters the U.S. has exhausted its ground launching missiles. We've exhausted most of our Tomahawks. And 2 additional sources talked about the Patriot and THAADs are gone. Bye-bye. Virtually all THAADs and Patriot interceptors are gone. So Iran can use its ballistic missiles at will, with impunity, which is fascinating as well, because Russia is able to use its ballistics with impunity against Ukraine right now. And the U.S. clearly, and not that Trump wants to help.
Yep. And it was so funny is that they just had the NATO summit, and Trump's like, oh, yeah, we're going to give them the license to build Patriots on so they don't have to keep begging us. We don't have them ourselves. We don't have them ourselves. And they take years to make. So here's the thing, right? With this being the case, right? With the world knowing that, yeah, we're running out of munitions. China, now's the time to take Taiwan. Now's the time. Russia, you know that America is. We don't have we don't have the means to defend Europe. And Trump has been talking all this shit, saying how he doesn't want to defend Europe. He's alienating himself from Europe, from NATO. Listen, now's the time. Listen, get rid of the Zelensky regime, right? I just saw earlier today where Russia, let me see if I can find it, right? Russia has a Ukrainian military. This is crazy. Watch this. Where is it? Oh, I just saw it earlier today. What's that guy's name? I might have been on Instagram. I can't find it, right? But basically, Russia has a Ukrainian volunteer army who they're trying to get Zelensky up out of there. Man, it's it's crazy out here, right? It is absolutely crazy out here. So again, now's the time to just get with it, man. Push the offense, right? Because they've been playing the diplomatic thing with America. You can't be diplomatic with America. You can't be diplomatic with people who don't regard diplomacy.
Help Zelensky because Trump's a Putin bootlicker. But even if we want to do, we don't have the interceptors to stop the ballistics, even in U.S. bases. That's why additional sources leaking to Reuters, NBC, and CBS that the U.S. has essentially abandoned all of its military bases in the region as well. CBS News, citing 2 sources with direct knowledge, states that the U.S. has again used virtually all of its global stockpile of long-range precision missiles, and that our inventories are gone. CNN citing multiple senior U.S. officials about how Trump privately panicking, complaining, beside himself, that the U.S. has the weakest position possible in any negotiations with Iran, that the U.S. essentially has to accept whatever Iran says because the U.S. doesn't have any defense capabilities, and we've diminished our offensive capabilities, and that China and Russia and North Korea see this, and they see a massive opportunity.
Again, Putin, Xi, Rocket Man, are y'all really sharks? Y'all should smell the blood in the water. Are y'all really sharks? Or are y'all a bunch of dolphins, bunch of guppies? Be the shark. The blood's in the water. Now is the time, right? Listen, the scripture about the Most High mustereth up the host of the battle, right? Most High God is mustering them up, right? Instigate. Listen, I'm just an instigator, right? Now is the time, right? The blood's in the water, right? The sharks are going to come out.
As well, and our Arab nation former allies are terrified. 6 sources familiar with the Camp David meeting describe the munitions topic being front and center. And then in the CNN article, they said that Trump should have been aware of this for many months. Was he not listening to Heg?
Of course he wasn't, because all Trump is trying to do is to preserve himself. He knows that if the Epstein files come out, he's going to jail. And what Bibi and the Israeli government is doing is holding Trump hostage, right? They're blackmailing him. This is why they use Epstein as a spy, as an asset to collect data and information on American politicians. This is quintessential Amalekite modus operandi. They infiltrate governments, they get blackmail on officials so they can bring that government down. So Israel has been able to leech off of America because it has its politicians in their pockets, because guess what? One, they fund them, and secondly, they have blackmail on them that would ruin them. That's the reality. That's the facts of the matter. So because that's the case, this is why this war is happening. And again, Trump's a goddamn fool. He doesn't read. The nigga does not read his briefings. It was some time ago. A former staffer said that they have to put lots of pictures and things to get him to pay attention. And honestly, he just refuses to listen. He refuses to pay attention. So all praise to the Most High, right? That the American people are stupid for electing him, and he's the perfect idiot to be in office to bring this bitch down, right? Yahawashi says that Satan cannot cast out Satan. If Satan be divided, Satan's house can't stand, right? America, it's Satan's house, and Satan is divided against Satan, and this place is fallen, right?
Hegseth was Hegseth. What was going on there? Because they said Feinberg and others were telling Trump. So was Hegseth trying to tell Donald just what Donald wanted to hear? How the hell do you deplete 80 to 90% of your frickin' THAADs? The Atlantic citing multiple, every one of, just think about it. The top military officials were like, time to leak. And then they all went out. Remember, I was saying this was happening the day before. They are overwhelming Donald Trump with shame, a tsunami of shame and embarrassment and humiliation at Donald.
It's like that episode of Game of Thrones where they were walking Cersei through King's Landing. Shame. Trump is so embarrassed right now. And when it comes to a malignant narcissist like Donald Trump, embarrassing them, making them feel shame, oh man, it's perfect. It's perfect because it's going to make an individual like that do some of the most irrational things imaginable. So what's next? Because America has run out of their munitions, their conventional munitions, damn near. What's the only option? Dropping a nuke. And if that happens, man, World War III has now kicked into the final gear, man. All right, we are very close. So again, we got to continue to watch, pray, of course, keep the commandments, stay locked in, stay down for your crown, keep the commandments, because again, family, our salvation is nearer than when we believe, right? But we're gonna wrap it up soon. Any questions before we dip up on out here? Again, make sure that you guys like, share, make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? I should be back on my main channel, Lord willing, on Tuesday. I'm probably not gonna go live. I got a couple of lessons in the tub, right? So there's been a lot of talk, right, about Donald Trump being the Antichrist. Got a video on that coming. All right, it's already pre-recorded. It's already edited. Right, it's actually gonna be a really good like the format how I did it. It's gonna be really, really dope. It's kind of like how if you watch the Eternal Life video that I did, where I had like actual scripture, had the audio of the scripture being played, and me of course coming on the screen and giving commentary and whatnot. I presented it that way. I've been working on it for about like a week and some change, little over a week. So that should be coming on the channel next week as soon as I'm able to upload. On yesterday, because I wasn't able to go live, I typically go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes, of course, on Fridays as well. Went live on TikTok for the first time yesterday and got some smoke with some Christians. So I'm gonna be on TikTok a lot moving forward, family. So my social media is down here at the bottom. Make sure you follow me at LionOfYahawah on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter /X, Twitch. My Facebook, Ariala Yasharahla. My cash app's down here. So if you brothers and sisters want to help with the ministry, by all means, appreciate brothers and sisters. There's a couple of people who regularly donate via Cash App, so I truly appreciate y'all, family. But yeah, make sure that you're following me on TikTok, because I'm gonna be going live on TikTok at least once a week, Lord willing, moving forward, because I've been able to get some smoke on there. Right, I can't find smoke on YouTube. Right, can't find smoke on Facebook. TikTok's the place. And Clubhouse, I'm done with Clubhouse. I don't want to step foot on Clubhouse. It's nothing but bug outs over there. But yeah, I'm gonna be on TikTok. Right, I'm probably gonna put some clips together to put on the channel within the next couple of days as well. So again, make sure that you tapped in with the my YouTube channel, Shar Ariala. But again, make sure you guys subscribe here. House of Bread. Brothers and sisters, don't have any more questions. We're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, family. With that, I pray brothers and sisters were edified. Until next time, Shalawam and Matawathya.